Welcome. You're watching Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life, with your host, Danny Pabone and Rifle Scudder.
I've wore this jersey when nobody wanted to watch us play and when it was hard to get a win, and now at this moment it's no matter how tough it is in the game, we know how to win, we know how to fight, we know how to dig deep, and I think that takes a lot, and I think the way Coach Drassi came in from the beginning, it was the mentality that he just changed how we thought and how that he told us to put ourselves aside and realize that the Springboks are a big team and we need to get it back to where it needs to be. And South Africa as well, this team has done a lot for the country. It's been used in so many ways, and he got us to understand that we are just vehicles and this team will always be there.
Welcome to Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life. As always, I'm joined here with my friend Rifle. Rifle, how are you doing, sir?
All good here in Virginia. Thank you, Danny. How about you?
Doing great, doing great. Coming off another great weekend of rugby with your Springboks being the Rugby Championship champions this year for second year in a row, I should say. And wow, what a series this was. I know you've mentioned before, Rifle, just how close this series was this year, with you have all four teams losing two games. Actually, the first the first 4 weeks with two teams had two wins and two losses, so it was a very close series. But the Springboks pulled it off, and they are champions again of the Rugby Championship. So it's pretty cool to watch and see. What a great series it was.
Yeah, it was definitely, I think, if not the best, one of the best, series that they had in America's summer or South Africa's winter, however you want to see it. But the Rugby Championship, definitely since it's gone from the Tri-Nations where we only had South Africa, New Zealand and Australia, but now bringing in the Pumas as well. So very, very tight in the end. A very good competition. A lot of new players coming through, new talent, and I think just proving to the world, no matter what sport it is, when you started, Argentina way back, they were getting pummeled by every nation. And now you can't beat them on the day. I mean, they beat anyone. So they've come from a team that has got hammered by the best in the world to becoming one of the best in the world. And they're sitting in a very, very sweet spot now concerning world rankings, because in December, they choose the draw. They have the draw for the 27 World Cup, and the top 6 spots are in peak position. So you play easier teams. If you're outside the top 6, you're going to have to play one of those to go through, basically, or two of them. And Argentina's, sitting there. So well done to Argentina, just proving that they are one of the best in the world. We spoke about Australia that was suffering and doing really, really bad 18 months ago, 2 years ago, since the previous World Cup, where they didn't even qualify for the quarterfinals, which is shocking. But then Joe Schmidt taking over and working with the boys, and, they did so well. They had the British and Irish Lions tour. Just before this competition, they went straight from those hard games into this Rugby Championship, and it just showed that they're up and coming. So to have the World Cup, the next Rugby World Cup in 2027 in Australia, going to be tough. They're going to be, 2 years better than what they are now. So they're not going to be a walkover. So it was just good all around. So very good competition. Enjoyed every game. Hated some losses that the Springboks took that they should have won. But that's the way, the cookie crumbles, as they say. That's the way it goes. But in the end, wonderful competition. All four teams, just brilliant moments of absolute splendor on the rugby field. And all four teams as well, just blunders at the most terrible times, just making silly mistakes. But that's life. That's the game. You don't win all of them. Some you win, some you lose. One day you're better than the next weekend. And, all of that comes into play. So great competition, and unfortunately, next year we seemingly not going to have another championship because Australia and Argentina, they're going to have to look at what they're going to do, because there are talks of the All Blacks coming to South Africa for a 3-test series called, whatever the ultimate challenge is. So something to look forward to, but not going to have the competition as we had it. So something sad as well. But this year's competition, great all the way around.
Yes, yes, it was. And before we get into the last 2 rounds of the Rugby Championship, which, as you have just mentioned, were great and such a close series, we want to congratulate England women's team for winning the Women's Rugby World Cup. And as we've stated before, Rifle, no surprise there. They beat Canada rather easily, I would say. And New Zealand coming with the bronze, taking on France. They won in the bronze game. So no surprise there. I think we both had England winning the Women's Rugby Cup, and that's exactly what they have done. 2 Rugby World Cups in a row, and it just seems like nobody could beat them, man. They're on a very long winning streak. And this is, including the Rugby World Cup, they're on a very long winning streak, and I don't see anybody beating England anytime soon if they continue to play the way they are playing. So yeah, congratulations to the England women's team for winning the 2025 Women's Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, I do have to say, to me, a surprise was, not England winning it, but Canada. My goodness, those ladies have come a long way. So give them another 4 years if they can manage their players and play in good tournaments against the best as they have now. And, if they can keep up the improvement as they have done over the past couple of years. And I'm not saying all this to say that I watch women's rugby and I'm absolutely on top of everything. I'm not at all. But I was very impressed by the Canadian women and the way they fought till the end and got through. And for any team to beat New Zealand, men, women, it doesn't matter. I mean, New Zealand, they up there, they're the top. You want to measure yourself against them. So you're getting second place, New Zealand third. Congratulations to Canada. They took second place and well done. So let's see in 4 years' time, maybe those ladies, who knows, anything can happen in sport.
Let's see who's able to dethrone England in the next Rugby World Cup, which would be actually no, the next one is not in the United States. The United States Women's World Cup will be in 33, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think after the men, so not the next one, but the one after that, I think.
Okay, yeah. So we shall see in 2029, see if the Canadian women can dethrone England. We shall see. So let's get right to it. Just going over the last 2 rounds again of the Rugby Championship. South Africa is back at the #1 ranking in the world. And it's crazy because just a short few weeks ago, they were knocked down to number 3, if I'm not mistaken, for like a week.
Yep.
So yeah, now they're at #1. So round 5, we have the first game, New Zealand and Australia. Obviously, everybody can see here, New Zealand came out on top. Another game where Australia had to play catch up. And it's unfortunate, they started off slow and, they had to come back, score. They came within 2 points before New Zealand had the nail in the coffin with their last try towards the end of the game. So yeah, another game where Australia had to play catch up, and with a team like New Zealand, it's very hard to pull off a win when you have to play catch up and you start slow and have to play catch up. So yeah.
And that game was also in New Zealand, so it makes it so much harder. They were fighting to keep that Eden Park record alive and get another notch in the belt there. So it's very difficult to go to New Zealand and win a game against them at home. Very, very difficult. Doesn't matter what team you are.
Yes, so now the record holds at 52 games that
Yep.
New Zealand has won in a row at Eden Park. Another record that we shall see who was the first to win at Eden Park. I mean,
Since 1990s, yeah.
that's just insane. 52 wins in a row at home. So for all your American football fans, that's like a team. Let's see, 8 games. That's 6 years, 6.5 years of winning at home. To put that into perspective, if you compare that to a NFL team, football, American football, 6.5 years of winning at home without losing. That's just insane, record there. But nonetheless, New Zealand came out on top and continued their winning streak at 52 over Australia. Second game, we have South Africa and Argentina. And this game, something we're going to get into in a few minutes, this game and the second game of New Zealand and South Africa, both these games obviously were games that were won by South Africa by a large margin. And those two large margins play a huge role in the Springboks winning the tournament. And we'll get to that in a few minutes here of how that played a big role in them winning the tournament. But yeah, we have South Africa, Argentina, and this game was amazing, Rifle, because this was a 39-30 game. 60 minutes into the game, this game was still 39-30. So the last quarter of the game, it's like South Africa just put they're like, okay, we're done with this. Let's shut them out. And the last quarter of the game, probably some of the best rugby ever played by South Africa, and they've played really good rugby over the years. But this last quarter of this game was just wow! 4 tries in the last quarter of the game. It was an amazing thing to watch.
It was, yeah, and they tried something new. You know, they put in a lot of young players there, and Rassie was talking about that before the game. And there's a thing now that they talk about South Africa playing Tony ball. Tony referring to the New Zealand coach that played for New Zealand for the All Blacks, Tony Brown, who's coaching South Africa now, the back line on attack. And he's trying to expand the game, you know, make them run more. So Tony ball compared to what we used to play, just that hard battering in and going over the ball. And when they put the youngsters in there, I mean, Sasha Feinberg and Gomezulu, he's a youngster. I think he's got 10 caps or that, you know, so behind his name, if even that. And young players, you got Moody in there. You got really, they played Damian Willemse, who's still a young, even though he's the youngest World Cup player to win 2 World Cups. But so he's still very young. He can definitely still make the next World Cup should he stay healthy and they manage him. So they had a lot of young guys on the field, in the back line especially, and in the forwards as well, a couple of youngsters. But people were wondering if this young team, because Argentina, as we've seen and said many times before, they no pushover anymore. They are a difficult team to play. Normally they scrum very, very well. They've got an immense pack of forwards that doesn't stand back for anyone. So it was a test, and going to see if these youngsters can handle the pressure and how they come out playing, you know. So it worked out well for South Africa. Sasha scoring a hat-trick of tries, just an amazing game, just proving the talent that he is. And he can also, as we've said of Satiti last year, winning, you know, new up-and-coming player of the year, if they can manage him well and he doesn't get injured, man, Satiti's going to be around for many years doing damage to every team he plays against. And Sasha is the same. If he can stay level-headed, if he can stay with his feet on the ground, so to speak, and they manage him well and he doesn't get injured, definitely a great talent. And with his 3 tries, also just his kicking ability, he has now become, as it says at the bottom there, the Springbok to score the most points in a single game, which is 37. I mean, in an international game, one player scoring 37 points is unheard of.
Wow. Yeah.
So, good for him. Everything worked out on the day for South Africa. We had a good show. The youngsters came through, did well. So it was a good game. Yes.
Yes. And again, just that last quarter was just beautiful thing to watch. I mean, this was only a 9-point game at the 61st minute mark, if I'm not mistaken. It was still a 39-30 game. So yeah, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So moving on to round 6, which is obviously the last round of the series tournament. We have again Australia, New Zealand coming out on top once again. The conditions in this game were torrential rain, and I mean it was coming down hard for the majority of the game, and something, if you're new to rugby, everyone, something you've mentioned many times, rugby, on this podcast, is the kicking game, especially, in this quote unquote new era of rugby, where, rugby has, over the years, has transition like any other sport, where we've spoken about this before, where teams are scoring more now. The point system for many of the competitions are set up in such a way where scoring tries is awarded. So, and part of that is the kicking game, and you've spoken about this before, is the kicking game has evolved as well, where many teams are using the kicking game more often in their strategy throughout the game. And obviously in this game, I've noticed that the kicking game was used because of the wet conditions. I think I counted 6 kicks in a row, 3 by New Zealand and 3 by Australia within a minute and a half of play. It felt like I was watching a soccer game because they just kept kicking it to each other. And I mean, and obviously that's because of the wet conditions. The ball is wet. You don't want to mishandle the ball close to your try line. God forbid your opponent gets the ball and scores a try. So yeah, kicking was a huge part of this game because of the weather. So yeah.
Very, very important part of the game now, more than ever before, as you say. And just the skill level, and you'll see it mostly from fly halves, where they can see the backlines coming up quickly, maybe with a rush defense, and you can't break the backline, you can't get through, and you can't just chip over. What they do then is kick for the wing. So instead of passing the ball down the line, the fly half just takes the ball and kicks it to the winger. And so many times you'll see spot on, in the hands like a cherry, just catching the ball and going for a try. So really, really very skillful players that we have now. And they obviously practice those things over and over again. But very impressive to see when the ball comes quickly and, pass it to the fly off and he puts it on the boot. And then instead of passing it to the wing, just kicks it, and the whole backline can't get there. The ball travels quicker than the man.
Yeah.
And no one can stop the guy when he gets it and he's passed. So all the other guys have to turn around and try and catch him. You can't do it. You running forward, catching the ball on speed, very difficult to stop someone in that position. So kicking game, beautiful to watch when it works.
Yes, yes. And it's beautiful to watch where, where again, in this game, essentially both teams were forced to rely on their kicking game because of the wet conditions. So in situations like this, if you have a good kicking game, again, it's essential. And not even in a game like this, How many times have you told me that, many times it comes down to your kicking game in order for your team to win. And I believe, I think, just going back to to my mind is going blank, not the British and Irish tour. My mind
What are
just
you
went
talking
blank.
about?
The competition at the beginning of the year.
The Six Nations.
Six Nations. Sorry, my mind just went blank. Sorry, everybody. I just said my mind just went blank. Going back to Six Nations, Scotland, Finn Russell having that terrible game where they had that game won, and he just kept missing kick after kick. And if he would have just made two kicks, especially at the end, if he would have made that last kick, they would have won
They
the
would have
game.
won. Yeah.
They would have won the game. So it goes to show, like you always say, when you're on the top international level, you're playing the top teams. Your kicking game better be good that day, because most chances are you're gonna need it. So yeah.
Well, even the game South Africa against Argentina, they had a penalty not too far from the end of the game, and instead of going for the touch, they went for posts.
Mm,
And I mean, he's the best kicker. I think he's 80% plus, in the competition, even more than that. And he kicked it against the upright.
yeah.
And the ball came back, and then, eventually they scored. But I mean, on that play, if he kicked it through, who knows what would have happened. But, it was a very windy day. It made kicks difficult, but he kicked the uprights. So it didn't work out for them. But could have been a very, very different game if that kick had gone through. So kicks ultimately now can decide a game, most definitely, yes.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes, it can.
Yeah.
And that's just going back to the NFL. You look at the kicker, the punter. You're like, sometimes they play a role in the games, but it's very rare where the kicker, you say, oh, the kicker played a huge role in the thing. Rugby is sort of opposite. Kicking game
Yeah,
is definitely a huge part of the game nowadays.
definitely
And
does. Yeah.
yes, and we come to our final game of the tournament and series. Obviously, needless to say, this game was important, because if South Africa loses, New Zealand, the All Blacks are the 2025 Rugby Championship champions. And obviously, South Africa won, so now they are the champions. This game, first half, wasn't looking good for South Africa. And at one point of the game, you see Rassie, the head coach for South Africa, actually on the field in the tunnel waiting for the Springboks to come to the changing room, because he wasn't happy, and you could tell he wasn't happy by the look on his face. Yeah, that first half wasn't good for South Africa. Rassie wasn't happy. Second half, they scored two tries in the third, but relatively quickly in the second half. So whatever Rassie told them at halftime, it worked, because they came out all, so to speak, all guns blazing in the second half. Yeah, so it wasn't looking good for South Africa in the first half.
Yeah. If you look at the points there, what's the top two? New Zealand, South Africa. What's the points there? What do they have?
The point differential?
No, not point differential. The very last column. What are the points?
Oh, 19.
So
19.
South Africa, who won, had 19. New Zealand, who's second, they have 19. That's how close these two teams, that's how close this competition was.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to have your fate in your own hands, which South Africa did. So the last game, you going in, if South Africa won by 1 point, they win the whole competition, it's theirs. So they have to win. Where New Zealand, they played earlier in the morning, and now because of the points difference, they are now hoping and begging and praying and everything that they can for the Pumas to win.
They were
And that's
Puma
not a good place
fans.
to be if your fate is in another team's hands. So we hope that they do something for us today. Where South Africa at the end, that was the difference. South Africa said, okay, all we have to do is win. And by golly, we won by 2 points. That was all we needed to do to win the competition, where New Zealand had to have somebody else beat South Africa for them to win. But the only difference between, South Africa and New Zealand, once again, was that terrible game, depending on whose side you're on, for New Zealand, where they lost to South Africa in New Zealand, where we put that record score on them. I mean, we demolished them. So for them, that was where that big points difference is. It was just, and literally it was the second half in Wellington. So maybe the last 40 minutes of the game, that's where their whole competition fell apart, because we went and we scored and we scored and we scored. And in the last week, I think we scored 3 tries within I don't know how many minutes. And that's where they fell apart. So if you take all of that away and the big hiding that they got there 19 points, they got 19 points we, South Africa, got. That's how even this was. So it's always important that you have the whole fate of your team and everything that lies in your hands, and it's all up to you, which they didn't. But it just proves to you these teams are just, 19 points all. And at one stage, South Africa was, I think, third. At one stage, Australia or the Pumas could have won, So, it's not that this competition was a runaway for anyone. And then those 2 or 3 games where there was a big score, even the 67-30 for South Africa, that kind of cancelled the Pumas' chances of winning the competition. If they had beaten South Africa the last game, New Zealand would have won. But, that points difference in a 67-30, that did them in. They couldn't come back from that.
Yep.
So that's a thing at the end of the game, as I say, 19 points all. In South Africa, I was there in South Africa when South Africa lost at Ellis Park, which has never, ever happened, to Australia. My goodness, people were absolutely bonkers, besides themselves. We need to fire Rassie, and he's too smart for himself, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And then the next team, and in New Zealand, they were the same. They're just as bad as South Africa when it comes to that. The people are fickle, man. You play one game and you win, it's great. The next game you lose, it's the end of the world. And New Zealand, just like South Africa, they have no mercy when they lose. They expect their team to win. They expect, we can't lose. And then when they do lose, and it's a record loss to South Africa, we've never lost this far. Now Razor's not good enough, and the players are, now everyone is just jumping on the bandwagon of how bad they are. Yet at the end of the competition, South Africa wanting to fire Rassie, and then he's the best coach, and then Razor's terrible, and then Razor, we won the Bledisloe Cup, all is good. We have 19 points all. That's how good these two teams are, and that's how close the competition is. It's just people... human nature, you play well and everyone loves you, and you're from hero to zero in a week. It's just the way it is. And especially with South Africa and New Zealand, there's very little grace for the players and the coaches when look at South Africa. When we lost to New Zealand in Auckland, we should have beaten them at Eden Park. We should have had that record. They should not have beaten us that game. And the end of that game, it's doom and gloom, and it's so bad. And look at South Africa now. Next week, oh my goodness, a record win. The whole world is okay again. So from week to week in sport, it doesn't matter if you're playing in the NFL, it doesn't matter if you're playing the Premier League football, Manchester United, Liverpool, these teams. One week you can absolutely be riding on top of the world, and the next week you're down deep in the mud. And that's just the way it is. But 19 points each, that's amazing. That's how close these teams are.
So those fans kind of remind me of baseball, New York Yankee fans. And sorry, Yankee fans, you've been knocked out of the postseason yesterday by the Blue Jays. So Yankee fans are the same. One week, Yankees are the best. Next week, fire everybody. They need a new owner, fire the manager. new ownership. So yeah, it kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. It's human nature.
Yes, yes, it is. It's just the life of a sports fan, especially if your team is one of the top teams and expected to win every game every year.
Right.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the beast
Yeah.
of sports.
Yeah, because I mean, here now, as you said in the beginning of the program, South Africa has won it now back to back.
Mm,
But that's the first time in history that South Africa has done it. We've never done that before. So that was one of Russie's goals, is to win. Not just last year we won it, but now to back that up with another win. And they did it. But I think New Zealand has three in a row. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
So that level of competition between New Zealand just riding the wave number one and everyone else, especially from 2010, maybe 11 and 15, those two teams that won the back-to-back World Cups for New Zealand. I mean, goodness me, they even in between World Cups, they were winning everything. It was very difficult to play against them. I mean, they were all just, on the top of their game. They were so good. And they won three, championships in a row, where South Africa now has done two in a row for the first time in history. Unfortunately, next year there won't be this competition sounding the way things are going, but it's just these two teams, and this competition was very good. Yes.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do next year with no rugby championship?
Well, this doesn't mean there's no rugby. As you know, with Australia and Argentina, they're going to
Yeah,
have to. Maybe they can tour. With people are talking about that. If you listen to the world of rugby, but the thing that people are looking forward to, and everyone's ready to go to South Africa for the greatest rivalry. So three tests,
yes.
not just two, three tests. All Blacks in South Africa. That's it. Let's see who's the best. Bring it on. Three tests, not two tests where one you even draw and points difference. No, let's see who can win two out of three. So next year, that's what's going to happen. There's no rugby championship, but there's now the greatest rivalry going to be happening in South Africa. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
And we've actually done an episode on the greatest rivalry in rugby. So everyone watching this episode, you haven't watched that episode yet, please go watch that episode of one of the greatest rivalries, not only in rugby, but in international sports, the Springboks and All Blacks. So definitely catch that episode if you haven't yet. So yeah, so that's the Rugby Championship. So as always, we are going to just cover a few plays of the series. This is of the round 5 and round 6 of the tournament. And this first play that we're going to highlight here, and let me just make this a little bigger here. So this first play we're going to highlight here is round 5, New Zealand and Australia. And I just want to highlight this play because, again, something that we've spoken about many times. In NFL, we call this spreading the field. And if you're an NFL fan, you most likely know what that means. Spreading the field means you have your wide receivers out far from the line from the line, and what that happens is the defense has to spread their defenders out because they need to defend those wide receivers, and your goal is for the defense to be spread so wide that you create holes in the defense. So that's spreading the field. Very similar in rugby. You want but they don't call spreading the field. They call it spreading the ball. And New Zealand, obviously being one of the top teams in the world, they're very good. The top teams in rugby are very good at that, and this play highlights that. So obviously we have the ruck formed here, and just the speed and the talent of a top rugby team such as New Zealand. This is what happens. You get the ball, they don't think twice, and look at how fast that ball moves. And wow. And when you have the speed and talent of players that New Zealand has, that's what happens. 1 second, the ball's at the ruck. The next second, they're scoring a try.
In the corner.
In the corner, yes. So that's what happens when you have a top team that, again, just spreads the ball, doesn't think twice, speed and skill to score in the corner right there. Amazing to watch when a team is playing like that. Second play I wanted to highlight here. Now, I think we've spoken about this before, Rifle. My opinion, this is the try of the tournament. Amazing try. I'm going to play it in a few seconds. Another try would have been, in my opinion, the try of the tournament, but it's not. And I'll just go over that, why it's not in a second here. But let's just play this here. We have, and I'll let you pronounce his name. I can pronounce it.
Seen that a lot of people battle. A lot of people just say Sasha FM.
Okay, there you go. Thank
Sasha
you.
Feinberg and Gomazulu.
So I'll just go with everybody else. Sasha FM.
Sasha FM.
There you go. See, I'm not the only one that has trouble. So we have him here. Kick the ball. And let me just show everybody. This is him right here. This is not another player. This is the player that just kicked the ball. And scores the try.
That's ball sense.
Wow.
That's very skillful, yeah. And he was very clever as well, because you can see Moody, who's also fast, going for the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And one would think that when Sasha kicked, he's kicking for Moody, and Moody's going down the line to get it in the corner. But then Sasha, actually, you can watch, and he says, he's pointing to him, stay back, I'll get this, or I've got this, just leave it. Because if you've got two players going for the ball and they both go and you knock it forward, or one trips over the other, it's a mess. So communication is so important. But he says to him, wait, this is mine, I'll get it. And then he picks it up. A lot of players would knock it there or kick it too hard. You know, that was just brilliant.
And as you say, you can see it right here on my green dot. You see Sasha with his hand out, telling his teammate, stay back, I got this. As you say, you can see here, his hand is out to the side, telling him, hey, I got this. And I'm sure his teammate was more than happy to apply, because I'm sure, hey, you kicked that, you caught up to me, score the try, you deserve it. So yeah, what an amazing play. I believe this is the try of the tournament, because this is just amazing. However, in the round 6 game of between Australia and New Zealand, Australia scored a try. This is not the play, but Australia scores a try. However, the try is taken back over. What's the correct term? The try is reversed.
Reversed.
Yes, the try is reversed because you explained to me the Australian player did a alligator tackle or alligator roll tackle.
It's called a croc roll.
Croc roll. Okay.
The crocodile croc roll.
And what that is, anybody that's new to rugby, what that is a defender takes the player, wraps them, as it's like a suplex. They take them and tackle them and do like sort of a suplex back. That's called a croc roll tackle. That's not allowed in rugby, and that's why that try was taken away. But essentially the try was, and Harry Potter, the name, it makes me laugh because Harry Potter, the name of the player that's pretty much set up this try, that wasn't a try for Australia. How they got through the New Zealand defense when they were inches away, literally inches away from the try line, How the Australian players did not touch that touchline is amazing to me. Got through, had a couple of rucks, and then Australia finally scored. But again, the try was reversed because of that croc roll tackle. Is it?
Rockrell, yeah. But look at the score there,
Yes.
Danny. This is just before, well, a couple of minutes before half time. And look at the score.
9-7.
Australia leading. So, I mean, New Zealand had to come. Australia, so many times they led, they just could not hold on for whatever reason. You know, we
Yep.
can talk about the croc roll and there's so many things, but 9-7 leading and just couldn't hold on to that lead. And New Zealand fighting back and came back and won the game and the Bledisloe Cup once again.
Yep.
But they were leading 9-7 just before halftime.
Yes, they were. They had another game where they had many chances to get the win, but for whatever reason, they couldn't pull out the victory. So in this play, so again, I just wanted to go over that play because, in my opinion, that play would have been the play of the tournament, the try of the tournament, because it was an amazing try. But it was overruled, so the try by Sasha FM is now, in my opinion, the try of the tournament. So this play here, we have ceiling here. So this is Jordy Barrett, I believe, that made that kick. Headbutts
Kick
the
and the
ball
header.
and scores the try. Wow. So again, so this play went to the TMO, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is if you're a novice to rugby and you learn the rules, you think, hey, how is that not a knock-on? And the reason it's not a knock-on was because the Australian player touched the ball and the ball went off his hands into Jordy Barrett's head. So the reason it's not a knock-on is because it bounced off an Australian player first. And then Jordy's head was there, and that's how the ball went forward. And according to the referee, again, the reason they were awarded the try is because all the players were on side, meaning all the All Blacks were behind Jordy Barrett. Now, if any of the players, All Blacks, were in front of Jordy Barrett when he headbutted the ball, then the try wouldn't have been allowed because they were offsides. So it was a great explanation from the referee, the whole and the TMO of why this play was allowed, and it was not a knock-on. So yeah, amazing play. And the final play that we want to highlight here was actually, even though South Africa won the game, this is a try scored by Argentina here. So we have kick here. Chelsea Colby passes the ball. Oh, Argentina intercepts the ball and scores the try.
I think if Ches and Colby could have maybe 10 seconds back in the whole competition, it would definitely, that pass to the middle of nowhere when the guy's up there, he would want 10 seconds back there and not throw that pass. That was just bad.
Yes.
That's what pressure does.
Here we go.
Just chucking it. There's no one there, just, man.
Wow.
I won't say what I was doing when he passed that ball because I knew what was going to come. It was not pretty.
You saw it coming.
Oh
as soon as the ball released,
and there's nobody there. It's like, oh, who are you passing to, man? Oh,
we won't.
Now they just a couple of points behind if they get a kick. It's like, oh yeah, I could imagine how the All Blacks were shouting when he passed that ball and how happy they were.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just it's like you say, Chelsea Colby, if you could have those 10 seconds back, you probably wouldn't have obviously 2020 hindsight, you probably wouldn't have passed that ball. You probably would have
Sure.
taken the tackle or something like that.
But, if you look at Argentina, I mean, the previous game, they got pummeled by South Africa. And it's very, very difficult to come back from a humiliating loss like that, especially when you're playing not on your home field. They chose to play in England. It was their choice. Financial reasons, they could make more money by playing in England, so they wanted to
Mhm.
play there. But the week before that, they just got a hiding. And to come back and play till the end, you don't
Mhm.
stop halfway, you don't stop, and literally 2 points. That's all the difference there was between these two
Yep.
teams in the end. Them scoring that last try. I mean, they came back and they fought, and it was a close, too close for comfort. I'm telling you, my nails and hair not good at the end of that.
I
So
could
well
only
done to
imagine.
Argentina for just fighting and not giving up.
Mhm.
So it was great till the last minute of this competition. There were three teams in it, that could have just that were playing such
Mhm.
an important role in the outcome of the whole competition.
Yes, yes. And just to think, um, again, just going back to the first half of this game where South Africa was not looking good at all. Argentine defense was just putting pressure on South Africa, and at times you could see South Africa frustrated in the first half. You could see it on the players' faces. There was a shoving match at one point during the match where you clearly see the frustration on the Springbok players, and that's just because Argentina's defense was just really giving it to them. So yeah, hats off to Argentina. They really made the Springboks work for this win. So yeah, hats to them. Hats off to them for a tough game and making the Springboks earn this win. That's exactly what happened. The Springboks earned this win. So yeah, hats off to Argentina.
Yeah, very good game, very good competition.
Yes. So again, congratulations to the Springboks. Second year in a row, Rugby Championship champions, and looking forward to next year, as you say, when the All Blacks are going to be touring South Africa. So yeah, as always, and in about 3 weeks, the All Nation, obviously not All Nations, Autumn Nations series is starting as well. So again, more great rugby to come, as always. So pretty cool. It's going to be pretty cool to watch that as well. So with that, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Last two rounds of the Rugby Championship. As always, thank you, Rifle. Congratulations to the Springboks. And what a great weekend, and what a great Rugby Championship it was this year.
Yes, it was. Thanks for watching, everyone.
So with that, everyone, until next time, take care.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching this episode of Rugby with Rifle. Remember to press the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to support this podcast.